Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Tuesday afternoon, Coach Sark, the Texas Longhorns, get it done for one of the best players across the country, regardless of position. In the 2026 cycle, five-star linebacker Tyler Atkinson committing to Texas. You are going to see people on Twitter. You're going to see people on the message boards talking about Texas dropping a bag for Tyler Atkinson. Well, guess what? I hate to break it to you. This is the kind of football player that you drop a bag for. I mean, you look at the impact that Tyler Atkinson is going to have on this Texas defense over the next couple of years. You don't really have to try to imagine it. I think you can look back at it the last couple of years and look at, hey, Anthony Hill, the impact that he's had for Texas over the last couple of years at that off-ball linebacker position, that is the vision that you have for Tyler Atkinson. There's no doubt in my mind that is why Texas got as aggressive as they did for a kid like Tyler Atkinson, because they've seen firsthand how Anthony Hill has fundamentally changed Texas on the defensive side of the football and say, hey, Anthony Hill going to be going to the NFL draft after this year. We have the opportunity to bring in a guy that can have the exact same impact on our defense over the next 3 years in Tyler Atkinson. It just made so much sense for Texas to get this one done. The second thing you have to add about this recruitment is when you have the opportunity to notch a head-to-head win over Georgia on the recruiting trail, for a player of this caliber, it matters a little bit more. Like, in my humble opinion, you look at the next 5 years and you start mapping out, hey, what are these SEC championship and potentially national championship games going to look like? Wouldn't be surprised if it includes Georgia and Texas squaring off multiple times in the postseason, when you have the opportunity to not only add a player like Tyler Atkinson to your roster, but also ensure that you're not lining up against a player like Tyler Atkinson against Georgia. That makes this recruiting battle, at least in my opinion, even a little bit more important. We knew that Texas was going to have to get aggressive on the financial side of things for a guy like Tyler Atkinson. Hell, whoever was going to land the commitment of Tyler Atkinson was going to have to get aggressive financially. That is kind of the part of the course in this era of college football. Tyler Atkinson is one of those players that, in my mind, he's the player that's worth it to push your chips in and go out and get, because there's a difference between good and great off-ball linebackers. Now, there are a lot of good linebackers in the country that fit the run, that make the tackles they're supposed to. There's not a lot of them that leave a fingerprint on a football game. Tyler Atkinson going to be that guy for Texas over the next couple of years. And again, most importantly, the blueprint is already there. The ways you are using Anthony Hill to dominate football games on the defensive side of the football are going to be, at least in my opinion, the exact same ways you're going to have to use a guy like Tyler Atkinson. Monster win for Texas on the trail. Want to get a little bit more into Tyler Atkinson and talk about really what he brings to this Texas defense, talk about where Texas is going on the recruiting trail. Because I'll say this, yes, has it been a maybe frustrating last couple of weeks with a guy like Carlton going to Baylor, a guy like Felix Ojo going to Texas Tech? I kind of promised the Texas fans that when we look up at the recruiting rankings in the beginning of December, when it's time to sign these papers, I feel like Texas fans going to be just fine with Texas winds up in this 2026 cycle. Before we get into it, just want to say thank you to you guys. It's been a blast, covering this program on the trail and really covering the recruiting trail during the summer months. The amount of support y'all have shown the fellas has been amazing. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into it. I think one thing that's worth noting, know what fan base you're not really going to see complain about Texas, quote unquote, dropping it back for Tyler Atkinson. It's going to be the Georgia fans, because the Georgia fans are also very familiar with Tyler Atkinson, and they know the impact that he can have at the collegiate ranks. If you're a Georgia fan, you're probably looking at it and saying, yeah, it sucks. Like, we wanted this kid coming to Georgia, but you also get it because you probably understand how good Tyler Atkinson can be at the collegiate ranks. You start getting into this kid and say, one, the athletic profile is just check box after check box. This is exactly what you want your linebackers looking like and moving like, especially in this era of college football where, look, the name of the game is speed and space. If you want to be a national championship caliber defense, you have to have speed at the second level. These opposing offenses, look, they're predicated on getting the football out to the perimeter and letting their playmakers make plays. If you don't have linebackers that can run, chase, and tackle, you're going to be in a tough spot. I mean, look at why Texas was probably the singular defense in the college football playoffs that was able to give Ohio State the most problems, because they had the guys that could run with Ohio State in space. Tennessee sure as heck didn't. You saw Notre Dame at times struggle with it. I thought Oregon certainly struggled with the athletic profiles of Ohio State on the outside. Texas really didn't. And I think it largely had to do with the amount of difference makers in the athletic profiles that Texas has been able to stack in the back half of their defense. Tyler Atkinson is one of those guys. 6A football down in the state of Georgia. So it's not only the athletic profile. Like the athletic profile, he is a laboratory guy. Hey, you want to create an off-ball linebacker in the SEC in a laboratory, it's going to be spitting out an image like Tyler Atkinson. What about the feel for the game? 475 tackles playing 6A football in the state of Georgia. This is a kid that not only has the athletic profile, but has shown you that he's a really good football player as well. He's coming off a junior campaign, 166 tackles, 13 sacks, 32 tackles for a loss. You start getting into the value that Tyler Atkinson provides. It's very similar to Anthony Hill. This kid is not just an off-ball linebacker. You can move him around. You can use him as a quarterback spot. You can let him rush the passer off the edge. And I'll say this kid rips coming off the edge. There are not a lot of tackles that can deal with the bend and the first step that Tyler Atkinson brings as a pass rusher. He's a guy that you can do more with than just treat him as an off-ball linebacker. He's that true defensive chess piece. I mean, you look at Anthony Hill last year, buck 13 tackles, 17 tackles for a loss, 8 sacks. I think Tyler Atkinson can replicate that production over the next couple of years at Texas. This is a dude that is worth, in my opinion, pushing your chips and to go out and get. And that's one of the things that I'll say about Texas was look at the guys that they are really not letting slip away. A guy like Tyler Atkinson, they seem to be really pushing for a guy like Jay Cruel. They seem to be really pushing for a guy like Derek Cooper. They're all guys that, hey, we feel as if they're going to be early contributors at the collegiate ranks. And this is not a shot at a guy like Felix Ojo. This is not a shot at a guy like Jamarian Carlton, going to Texas Tech and Baylor respectively. Those guys have the opportunity to be really good college football players. And I'm sure you pull every Texas fan, they'd want a Felix Ojo in the class. They'd want a Jamarian Carlton in the class. But why do you think Texas probably let those players slip away and not a guy like Tyler Atkinson? Ideally not a guy like Derek Cooper, Jay Cruel. You look at Felix Ojo, you look at Jamarian Carlton and say, yes, the ability to be really good football players, but it's probably going to take a year or two before they are ready. Even a guy like Felix Ojo, look, he's a 5-star prospect because of what he can be, not necessarily what he is. I think that the guys that Texas is looking to financially get really aggressive for are the guys that are going to have the ability to come in and provide value early. And that's kind of the conversation you have to have with NIL and revenue share. And look, not necessarily a salary cap, but you got a fixed amount of resources and you're trying to figure out how to allocate them best. Do you want to be paying upwards of $2 million to Felix Ojo as a freshman when he's probably not going to play any meaningful snaps for your year one and maybe not even meaningful snaps for you in year two? Or would you rather push those chips into a guy like Tyler Atkinson, who, look, I feel dang sure that he's going to be on the football field for Texas as a freshman? I don't know if it's going to be an Anthony Hill as a freshman, but you feel like he's going to provide value immediately. I think you say the same thing for Jay Cruel. I think you say the same thing for Derek Cooper. I think that you look at Texas and say the guys that they are convicted on, the guys that they are willing to be aggressive for are guys that you look at and say they go and get on the football field early. And I think that makes sense in this era of college football and where we are. Jay Cruel, sounds like it's coming down to Texas and Oklahoma. He is, I don't know if he has the upside that a guy like Colin Simmons does, and let's just be frank, not a lot of edge rushers do, but he's really, really polished. One of the best pure football players you see in this class. And then you look at Derek Cooper and say, like, that looks like an NFL running back as a 17-year-old kid. The guys that Texas wants to be aggressive for are guys that, yeah, we're going to allocate some resources to go out and get, but we think that we're going to get 3 years of production from them. We ain't going to have to wait 2 years before they're ready. In this era of college football with NIL and rev share, that strategy matters. We'll see if Texas can end up flipping a tackle. I think that's the other thing you want to address. Texas is making a little late summer push, and I think you're going to see that momentum kind of get rode to National Signing Day in December. We'll close it out there. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.